Hey, how's it going? It's Nick here, and today I'm going to be making a tiny little postcard print. And I love making postcard prints because they're so low pressure that, if I mess up or, if I try something new and it doesn't work out, then it's not the end of the world. And luckily for me, there is an excuse to make one, and today I'm going to be participating in the Iowa State University Postcard Exchange. And so every year they do this exchange, you send up a bunch of postcards, they send you some back, and this year's theme is insects and their environments. And so I decided to make a print about the little cockroach in my head that just forces me to keep on doom scrolling Instagram. So without further ado, let's go ahead, jump into that Linocut, and then talk about the weird experiments along the way. So when I first made this print, I was on quite the time budget. This was right before the MAPC conference, and so I decided, Linocut is one of the things that I know best, and so we're going to go ahead and do a Linocut self-portrait. And so here we go, a mix of engraving tools and a mix of traditional Linocut tools. And so you might notice that I'm rotating the block around a lot. Sorry, that's a bit disorienting to watch at, but to me, the directionality of the line is very important to achieving the line that you want, especially on a piece so small. So here you can see me with my jeweler's goggles, and then I just kind of make some really tight little lines and then vary ever so slightly, changing the directionality of it. And for my workflow, I usually put the sketch onto the block, and then I kind of do this hatching to highlight the bright spots in front of me. And then after I've kind of got all of this tone and texture of the main subject matter that I like, I usually come in, then I'll do an outline, and then just kind of clear out the backspace. I don't start from the outside in, inside out for me. So I'm leaving a lot of negative space here for my litho layer. When you're trying to do, multiple layers of imagery, it's important to make sure that one layer doesn't do all of the heavy lifting. It's important to spread it across several different layers, and so here the background is just going to be all negative space, so I can leave that for the litho element. Oh yeah, I guess I forgot to mention that I'm also going to be doing some lithography for this print because I got a new litho press that I built, but more on that later. First, let's print this Linocut. Since this is going to be the key image and I'm going to decide the litho layer after that, I want to print this one first so I can kind of decide where to go from here. So I'm going to go ahead and bust out the tiny little etching press that I've got, perfect for little relief prints. And when I do Linocuts with really fine lines, I really prefer the hard brayer so that it doesn't kind of push ink into those tiny little lines. And here I'm just going to use some pin registration just to make sure that everything is nice and neatly registered. And then I'm just going to run it through the press. Just a single sheet of copy paper as the backing sheet. I like the hardness of the drum rather than like the softness of a felt, so it doesn't push ink into those grooves, but I still have the copy paper there to kind of deter any sort of slippage. But anyway, first layer done. It's a nice beautiful print. Now onto the litho layer. And so I'm going to use the same pin registration, and I'm going to use the same sketch that I used for the Linocut layer. That way I know that both layers are kind of registered to the same drawing. And here I'm doing a very subtle shading layer for the background. It's going to be reminiscent of kind of your phone apps. And so, reminiscent of the idea that my phone is always sucking my attention away. And I'm going to also draw this cockroach up here. And that's going to represent, the little rotting brain that I have. So, nice, soft, subtle layer. But I'm going to come back in with a second layer later to kind of do a nice background flat over here. Just a very subtle gradient, not too much work. And so I put on my rosin, I put on my talc, gum arabic, etch, all of that jazz, traditional litho stuff. This one's just a drawing. And then, of course, washing out the image and then replacing it with the printing base. And then we're off to the races. And so here is my new 3D printed litho press. It just kind of has like a little hinge top design like my old litho press, except for it's mini and it's 3D printed. You might have seen me tease this on my Instagram a long time ago. I'm kind of currently putting it through its paces to make sure that it kind of holds up and kind of works reliably before I start kind of publishing the plans. There's still a few changes I want to make with it, but so far I feel like it's pretty easy to use and it's pretty successful. And so here I just kind of printed the first kind of tonal layer with a nice little burnt umber kind of color, and so far so good. After that, I want to do a background flat, so I've kind of washed out the original image, and I'm going to come in with some Sharpie and go ahead and kind of color the whole background, just kind of one color to kind of give it a nice subtle tone for the background. And for the background color, of course, it's got to be transparent yellow ochre. I don't know what it is, but I love myself that kind of transparent yellow ochre gradient. I can't bring myself to, stop doing it. It just calls to me every single time I make a print. Transparent yellow ochre, that's my background go-to. And so I'm going to go ahead, roll that onto my Sharpie flat. We're going to run it through the press, and here I think the print has a lot more of a cohesive kind of finished feeling to the background rather than just leaving it as the bare gradient drawing. And of course, the border is a little bit weird. This is going to be a bit of a bleed print, and so I'm going to go ahead, set this out for a few days to let it dry completely, and then I'm going to go ahead, take it to the stack cutter, cut it down to size, and now this looks a lot better as a bleed print. Next up, we're sorting them to see which makes the cut for the edition, and then of course sign them, and then write the address, postage stamp them, and drop them off at the mailbox. So for this particular exchange, they wanted the stamp and the postage on the back and to send the postcards through the mail raw, and so that's what I'm doing here, off into the abyss of the mail collection box. So for this exchange, I did drive up to Iowa State University to see the final exhibit. It was nice to see what everybody came up with for this prompt and to see all of the postcards kind of in one place, because I'm only getting like 10 prints back, and so it's nice to see all of them in one spot. And so I did get to speak to the print class, talk to them a little bit about my printmaking practice, and I did get a few words from Raluca, who organized this entire exchange, and so I will hand this over to her.
So the print exchange started in 2001. April Katz, my predecessor, started it. When I was hired in 2019, I decided to continue it because I think it's really amazing that it started, the first exchange was in 2001 and we've kept it going. And we have this really vibrant international community that participates every year, and it's such a unique printmaking thing to have a postcard exchange. It's a little different from other exchanges in that it's also mail art, which I think is a little bit of a dying art form. And so it's really gratifying to teach students, like, here's where you put a stamp, here's how you write a postcard, which sounds ridiculous, but I think it's important, and it's another way to perpetuate that. So this year we had 170 participants from 17 states in the United States, and then internationally from Canada, Belgium, the Netherlands, England, and South Korea as well.
I guess if people want to get involved, is there a good way to get involved?
Absolutely, we would love for everyone to be involved. This exchange is open to everyone and anyone. Simply by participating, you get an exchange set of 12 postcards back, and you are included in the exhibition. And a good way to join us is by joining our newsletter. We're active on Facebook and Instagram, or you can just send me an email at riancu@iastate.edu. Cool.
I hope you enjoyed looking at this exhibition as much as I did, and hopefully if you're looking to participate for next year's, luckily for you, they've already announced what the next theme is going to be, and that theme is Deja Vu, Dreams, and Childhood Memories. And so if that theme sounds good to you and you want to participate, I would consider joining for this coming year's print exchange. And so they need to be in the mail by October 1st, so you've got plenty of time to make a print and think about this and get it into the mail. And who knows, maybe I'll get your print next year. And so all that's left is for me to go through the prints that I got back, and let's see what I got. So I hope you enjoyed this little journey that I've been on to make these prints and seeing the prints that I got back. If you choose to participate, hopefully I'll see you next year. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. See ya.